Hank, I'm Gail.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
Very nice to see you too. I like that background.
Oh, thank you.
Well, first, I want to welcome you to Atlanta.
Thank
Sorry
you.
that we can't roll out the welcome wagon the way we Georgians normally do, but we're happy you're here. And how did you
Yeah,
choose Atlanta as a site for this piece? Or did
we
Atlanta
had to.
choose you?
So we've been talking about routing a youth voter registration tour last year. So this time last year, we did, we knew we were running up to the election and how best could we exhibit the piece and support the work that's being done on the ground with voter registration. Finding unique ways to meet that demographic, that young demographic that we're trying to appeal to, that young voting base that sometimes we miss, with unique opportunities to see art, learn a little bit about the electoral process, etc. And then, of course, the world changed, and then the urgency for, the reasons for being out here multiplied. So not only is it 5 months to an election, which is a long time to keep up momentum and keep attention, but now there's a social justice layer, and there's a dirty fight around monuments, and so the urgency changed. The mission didn't change. I just think the people are more ready to understand the points that we're trying to make. After just seeing back to back what was happening, the roads that were coming to Georgia, and I was just saying to Camille, the last straw for me was the young people from Spelman and Morehouse that were so terribly manhandled. I couldn't go past Atlanta to get to DC. I couldn't do it. I'm like, that's a village that's hurting, and if ever we need symbols and representation and affirmation of our citizenship and to lend power, it's in this village right now. And that's how I made the decision to place in Atlanta first. And it ties right in with Hank being at the forefront of this monuments conversation. So, it's a couple of things kind of, coalesce to make it so, right? So then Hank wrote that great piece on monuments, and it amplified everything. So the idea that we're tearing down monuments to make a point when we can, and we should actually be giving good examples of the potential for monuments at the same time. So all of those things coalesce to make it Atlanta first and DC, and then the reason for being for going on.
I want to make sure I understand the timeline. So you only decided to bring it to Atlanta post-COVID, post the demonstrations, and wow.
About 4 weeks ago, yeah.
Who does things that quickly, Marsha? So as an artist, you've been focusing on systemic racism, essential workers, as we now know, people who are doing the essential work in society, income disparity, identity, and healthcare. Is it gratifying for you that the culture is finally catching up to all of these issues, or are you frustrated that it's taken us so long to get here, to center these conversations?
Well, thank you for having me. I really feel that the work I'm doing and have been doing is really in the legacy of my parents and my grandparents. And so I'm happy and honored and humbled to be seen as someone in my generation who really has something important to say. And it's really through support of people like Camille and Marsha that I've been able to like spread the love, and I'm excited to be doing it. And I think it's time for more and more of us to share what we've learned through ancestral wisdom and ancestral knowledge about building better communities.
You bring up family, so I have to ask about your mom, Deborah Willis, well-known historian and photographer. And you want to tell us about your dad and your grandparents, to whom you owe so much?
Sure. Yeah, my mother, as you know, is an icon in the history of art, and specifically Black photography. And my father is many things, but he was also a civil rights activist, freedom rider, and Black Panther musician, scientist, artist. And my grandmother's, all of them, but especially my grandmother Ruth Willis, who's 98 years old, and a person who taught me and my cousins that love overrules, and that nothing can actually take away from our integrity and our heart when we have faith.
Kim, you're here in Atlanta to install a monumental piece called All Power to All People. Tell us the history of that title.
Well, All Power to All People is a call to action that the Black Panther Party for self-defense promoted. And I think embedded in that is this fact that, you know, Black power is inclusive and white power is exclusive. And we know that people like Fred Hampton, who was murdered in Chicago, was, you know, known for saying we want white power for white people, black power for black people, yellow power for yellow people, and red power for red people, brown power for brown people. And this idea of a spectrum of people who are empowered together, making the unity that will make our country greater and stronger is something that that youth inspired. And we know, and the Afro-Pick being kind of an iconic tool for celebrating Black beauty and Black love at a time when so many people were afraid to do that. It's something that I wanted to monumentalize because these ideas are monumental.
I'm very aware that the Afro and the Afro-Pick and the Black Power sign might mean one thing to our generation, boomers, and another thing to millennials. How have young people been responding to the piece as it's traveled around?
Well, this is, I think, our fourth location. We headed up at Burning Man in Salt Lake. We had it at Burning Man in Black Rock City, Nevada. We had it at the Africa Center in New York. We had it in Miami, and this is our fourth location. But everywhere we go, people are inspired, in awe, enthusiastic, eager, proud, and it's incredibly humbling just to see how necessary and important and impactful this work is. And I look forward to seeing what other work it inspires.
Camille, what do the Black Power symbol and Afro-Pick mean to you, and what do you hope young people might see that they might overlook?
Well, you know, to me, it really represents a resistance movement. My first Afro-Pick was probably in about 1969 when I entered Wake Forest University, which was at the time, you know, primarily a white university, except for the athletes who were there. In fact, we just recently celebrated 50 years of the 5 women, Black women, who integrated the university. And fortunately for us, it was also a time of rebellion in the United States, generally speaking. You know, everybody was rebelling for everything. And the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement were just kind of part of our breathing. And so for me, you know, it was a very instrumental in making me the person that I am. And, you know, the Black Power symbol for me, the raising of the fist, I remember distinctly the Mexico Olympics where the Black Power symbol was raised and all the flack that those courageous young men got from standing on an international stage and speaking truth to power, which is the same thing that's happening now with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, they're speaking truth to power, and the young people are forcing not just America, but the world to deal with this persistent racism. You know, it's like these people just won't give up. They're very reluctant to share any power and to recognize that we are valuable human beings and we're contributors to this important, you know, to this society. And, you know, so for me, it's kind of like a deja vu all over again. It's been 50 years and we're back where we started. kind of, sort of.
Hey, it must
Yeah.
feel deja vu to you as well, because a lot of your work has been an indictment of the commodification of athletes, Black men in particular, and about how, this dumbing down through advertising and popular culture that has invaded the minds of young people. How do you feel, for example, about this about face with Roger Goodell? 4 years ago, Colin Kaepernick was persona non grata in the NFL. Now, all of a sudden, Roger Goodell, I don't know if he said, I forgive him, or I'm on his side, I believe in Black Lives Matter. How do you receive those two-faced messages?
I embrace them. I think it's exciting. I think what Kaepernick saw was something that many of us did not see. Up until this moment, I didn't even realize that his afro was connected to my Afro pick piece. I want to highlight that his birthday is Election Day, and that will be a great time to throw a party. I also feel like he did awaken in a lot of the youth generation their own power, and I feel like there's, especially compared to not definitely compared to Camille's generation, but compared to my generation, I think this generation is far more awake and alert to the opportunities and finding ways to turn the distractions into power. And I've been really inspired by their audacity, and grateful whenever I find out that I am an inspiration for some of them. I think Kaepernick specifically could see the future, though, when he took the knee 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and somehow telepathically, subconsciously sent a message that, an officer taking a knee might help bring an end to the plague of police brutality. And the fact that his gesture and the gesture of Officer Chauvin are so connected is something that is really hard to conceive and to wrap my mind around. And around that same time is when I started my Afropic sculptures, and so to be traveling the country, and I'm really grateful to my collaborator Marcia, who's really been the champion of this work, and we got to bring it to Atlanta, and doing all that she could in a very short period of time under extremely complicated circumstances.
We're in a pandemic, and I wanted to ask you, was there ever a time when you thought, let me weigh the risk versus reward here? I have a wife and daughter at home in New York, who I love, parents, grandparents, a grandmother who's 98 years old. I'd like to reach her age. Was there ever a time when you thought, no, I'm not getting on a plane to Atlanta right now. It's too risky.
Yes, like now, I'm not there yet.
Oh, where are you? I'm talking about welcoming you to Georgia, and where are you?
I'm happy to front, though. Like, the internet doesn't know. Yeah, my wife was not going to let me get on a plane this time right now, especially because we were with her parents. And so I was like, but my work, Atlanta, the city of Atlanta has been so embracing and fundamental to my work over the years. And so I'm excited to be part of it now, but I'm also excited to come back. And when we think about the recent loss of John Lewis and CeCe Vivian, and their impact on positive social change, the concept of good trouble, of defiance and grace in the face of indignity, something that this work and Black beauty in general stands for. And so, and Atlanta is, for many of us, that that shining city on the hill, just super excited to have the work here.
Camille, I want to give you the last word as Atlanta's, like I said, arts advocate and fairy godmother of arts and culture and letters.
Well, I want to thank Hank for sharing all power to all people with Atlanta. And I want to thank Marcia for stumbling into a beautiful location for it. It is just 2-3 blocks down from the by Thornton Dial, which is a commemoration of the confrontation at the bridge with John Lewis. And it's, 2 blocks down from John Lewis Freedom Parkway. And it's on the Beltline, which is the highest traveled pedestrian space in Atlanta. And Ponce de Leon Avenue is one of the most traveled arteries into the city. You're right near the Carter Presidential Library. So the location worked out, and we hope that all of Atlanta will have an opportunity to embrace it and it. I really love the fact that there's that Malcolm X booming voice there. All power to all people. Lesson that's being given, and we wish you well, and we'll take care of it so that when it goes on to its next slot, it has the spirit of Atlanta in it. We want to leave some of us with that piece of artwork. So thanks again for considering Atlanta and bringing it to Atlanta. As always, Hank, we've worked with you on lots of projects, and they just seem to be getting better and better, and you're so smart. Thank you.
Thank you so much for making many of my dreams come true.
Oh, well, I can't think of a better place to end. Thank you to both of you. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.